the royal you. You typically remember the firsts in your life that matter to you. You get your first relationship. You get your first pet. You get your first game system. You get your first owned studio. Yeah, that was a selling point on me. You remember those moments forever because they make you so happy, and they especially stay with you. Like if you're in the 5 to 7 year old range, because that's when your brain takes in all that kind of information. It's the most influential. For me personally, what stays with me more than an actual show, watching a show for the first time, is sometimes the commercials and everything that surrounds said show when you're watching it. The experience of spending an entire half hour devoted to whatever program that you're watching and getting everything as part of that. How it's presented. I remember watching Cartoon Network for the first time when we got it. It was included with the cable package that we had. Not everyone owned it back in the 90s, and luckily I happened to get it included with my stuff. Back in first grade in 2001, I was a total night owl. I get it from my folks. It just runs in our family tree. Yeah, nothing's changed. I'm still the same night owl. I was up around 12:30 at night on some random weeknight, and the first show that I ever saw on Cartoon Network was Dragon Ball Z. I had seen toys at Walmart and Toys R Us. Rest in peace, Toys R Us. And I was finally putting the pieces together of like, oh, these toys are actually based on a show that's on television. I didn't know that as a kid. I was 5. I was stupid. Still am, but I have legs and I can drive now. You've been warned. But
there's sidewalks for a reason.
Yeah, there's sidewalks for a reason. That's not truly what stayed with me watching Dragon Ball Z, even though obviously Dragon Ball Z is a huge part of my life. What stayed with me was everything surrounding that. I mean, I got to watch my first look at the greatest action show of all time as part of the Midnight Run block brought to you by Toonami. Toonami basically brought anime to the U.S. in general, in terms of bringing it to kids for the first time. Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Voltron, these kinds of shows. It was our total first exposure to this art style, to the script writing, to the storytelling, everything about anime. That was our introduction. Toonami helped create, in my opinion, a fandom culture that only gets bigger and bigger each year with cons and streams and online discussions and everything else that goes with it. And it's only going to get bigger once we all officially are able to get past COVID and we can start going to these things again. Anime Boston is going to be bigger than ever. That's my guess.
Maybe.
Whether it's action or comedy or romance or drama, it doesn't matter. We're all devoted fans to this style of storytelling, and it's remarkable how everyone's able to come together and embrace that. They embrace the vocal performances, the animation style, the labor of love that gets put into every single show. Even if it only runs 2 seasons or 11 or whatever, there's devoted fan bases to almost each and every show of these, and it's remarkable to me. Toonami started as a real action block on weekday afternoons that was hosted by Moltar from the Space Ghost cartoons of the 60s, which I just found out recently only had like 20 episodes produced. It's such a short time span. It's just a part of small culture.
Hanna-Barbera's old stuff is really weird.
Yes, it is. And that was what Toonami was putting out when we started. When Toonami started as just this hosted by Moltar, all they really did was showcase the Hanna-Barbera cartoons, Space Ghost, Birdman, Johnny Quest. They even played some 1940s Superman cartoons, which also are really good also. It gave us Voltron for the first time in 97. The following year, it gave us DBZ and Sailor Moon. And Cartoon Network really didn't know what to do with these shows at the time. They were just buying syndication rights and things that they could just put out just to make the block as good as it could be. When the ratings became strong for these particular shows, this anime, as they call it, Cartoon Network knew that they needed to make a change to potentially cash in on this. So Toonami was completely rebranded in July 1999. They gave him a new host, Tom, who's been with the show ever since.
Who's voiced by Steve Bloom.
That's the second one. The first one was voiced by Sonny Strait, who plays Krillin on Dragon Ball Z.
And a bunch of other people.
Did you know that Toonami stands for Toonami Operations, or Tom stands for Toonami Operations Module?
I did.
I did not know that. That was new to me. I always just thought his name was Tom just cuz.
Keep in mind, I'm also a lot older than you.
All right, Grandpa. Anyway.
I'm the old man, yes.
They also gave us the Midnight Run block the same day that Toonami premiered, and they were able to give us more mature and uncut anime at
Cowboy
night.
Bebop.
The Cowboy Bebop, Gundam Wing, Outlaw Star, Robotech, and of course they just drilled more Dragon Ball Z down our hearts, which was completely fine with me. Toonami used ties, total immersion events. They used these ties as rebranding events for their block, as well as character development so that people could stay engaged with the characters that were being presented as part of Toonami, not just all the other shows that went with it. That's how we got so many different Toms over the years. I believe we're on the 5th Tom, if I recall. I believe it's the 5th Tom, and I remember seeing that tie event, I think it was in the fall when My Hero Academia was coming back. I believe that was the 5th one that we got. Either way, still really cool. As Wayne mentioned, Stephen Bloom has voiced Tom ever since. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, he's typically voiced Wolverine in a lot of Marvel cartoons. I know he's done various other things, but that's what stays with me the most, the fact that he was Wolverine. These ties were just really epic, and they were cool, and they were just so unique for kids programming that you never see a programming block just give so much attention to detail just to give their own sense of story on top of promoting all the shows that they had. Usually during these tie events back in the 2000s, they had new episodes of Dragon Ball Z like for the whole week to help hype it up. So obviously it just made for a fantastic event to be a part of. Over time, more shows would get highlighted through the block as it transitioned from weekday afternoons to Saturday nights. And as a kid in middle school by this time, I felt obligated to be home on Saturday nights to partake in the festivities because it felt so important to be a part of that. It's tough to really find the words, my love for Toonami in general, but I just felt that I needed to be home no matter what. If Mom needed me to go run errands that night, it hurt my soul because I just wanted to be home and watch Toonami, not even so much for the anime, even though there were so many good ones on. I just loved being a part of the programming block.
It's surprising that you had friends. This is...
I know.
Yeah.
This is like...
I've been
this is
asking
your
myself
thing.
all this time.
Well, yeah, he wanted to watch cartoons instead of going out with people
man.
on Saturday
Yeah,
night.
I did. Well, because, I mean, I was
Yeah.
rehearsing throughout the week for all these shows. I was around enough people. I wanted some me time, damn it.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
well,
really
you
what
also got
contributed to
Dragon
it.
Ball, which is great enough on its own.
Yeah, it is.
Honestly, I don't blame you for
I mean-
like doing 3 shows. Because for those of you who don't know, Merrick was a theater kid. He did like 3 shows like a semester or like a year. Like it's crazy at the same time. It's nuts. You had no time.
No, I
So-
didn't. So when Saturday nights rolled around, because I didn't have homework, or I chose to ignore my homework, which was more
Yeah.
likely, I wanted to have some me time, and this was
Yeah.
the time for me to do it. And typically every Saturday night I was eventually home, but you know,
That's
I
true.
wanted to be there for the beginning. I wanted to be there from 7 to midnight. That was
Let me experience.
we were
the-
getting Neon Genesis,
woods.
we were getting Big O, we were getting Zatch Bell, Bobo,
Oh,
Naruto,
bo- 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 bo.
One Piece. Now, mind you, some of these were 4Kids syndication bought for Cartoon Network. For example, One Piece is one of them, but I mean, the theme song was so dope.
Yeah.
I understand how we feel about 4Kids animation and the dubs and such, but
No,
the One Piece theme song
So-
for 4Kids was dope.
the 4Kids is really good at making songs. Like sea shanty and gangster rap is very odd, and you wouldn't think that they would work
Oh,
well
but
together.
it worked. I was drawn into the show.
So
because of
so
that.
you could watch
Oh
One
my
Piece for the
God.
opening, and then as soon as they started talking, you're like, nope. And then the Funimation dub came out, and you're like, I remember when my brother had watched the 4Kids dub, and he loved it. And then it was like we found out the Funimation was going to take
Yeah.
over, and they literally just took over right where they left
right
off.
where they left off. Yeah.
And then he's like, "It's different. What's different? This is so much better." Or when when they released movie 8 of One Piece,
Yeah.
which is the recap of the Alabaster arc, which is my favorite arc,
Right.
and they did that on 4Kids.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when Luffy fights Crocodile in the 4Kids version, he uses his sweat. And the actual version, he has to use his blood if it has way more dramatic
Way
theme
more
to it.
dramatic tension, for sure. And luckily, Toonami, once 4Kids kind of started dissolving, Toonami was able to properly take the correct Funimation dubs and get actually the real culture of anime into their programming block rather than just taking whatever was on Saturday mornings for kids to then bring them over
Yeah.
to their
Yeah.
network. I mean, it was almost all kind of Shonen Jump, if we're being realistically. I recognize that my understanding of culture of anime really just comes from one
Yeah,
quarter of it.
You're just a shonen fan. That's
No,
fine.
and I get that, and that's
It's
but
fine.
That's my nostalgia. That's
I like shonen
that's
too.
where it
I
comes
love
from.
shonen.
It was the most impactful to me growing up. You know,
I mean, I still remember when I first met you and you wanted to watch the Death Note movies with me and Angel, and you fell in love with them.
Yeah, I did.
That's
So
also on
good.
Shonen Jump,
yes,
which is so funny because that's like the least shonen ever made.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Eventually, Cartoon Network did cancel Toonami in 2008 due to low ratings. Whatever.
Merrick cried.
Yeah, I was a little sad. I mean, it was probably because there were too many 4Kids dubs
Yeah.
with the show that maybe it just left a bad stigma in older fans' hearts. And the audience that had grown up with Toonami at this point were probably just watching all the anime that they wanted to on Adult Swim, like Bleach, because it was just more.
I remember
Their
when
style.
Bleach came out too, and everyone was all excited for it. The Bleach dub is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
They got some really, really big names for the Bleach dub.
Definitely they did.
They got Johnny Young Bosch to be Ichigo,
Yep.
which he made an entire career just out of being a voice actor.
Post Power Rangers, yeah.
Yeah, he's like one of my favorite voice actors.
Love Johnny Young Bosch.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, by the time the block was canceled, they had like Blue Dragon on. That was probably the only. I think that was one of like 3 shows where they were airing new episodes that was strictly anime by
Yeah.
the time. But
Yeah.
it was so that Blue Dragon, at least from the dub that I was getting, it was more kid oriented, and that's probably where adult fans who had grown up with Toonami, that's why they kind of just felt like, all right, I'm gonna get some anime that's more up to my speed now that I'm in my mid 20s to 30s or whatever, you know. So that probably contributed to being canceled. But there was good news to be had. Imagine my excitement when on April Fool's Day 2012, instead of airing the classic cult film The Room for the 3rd year in a row as part of their April Fool's jokes,
I love The Room, by the
they
way.
had it a few minutes in. Yeah, The Room is a classic. They had it a few minutes in, and then they just cut the feed. And they brought back Toonami in the first 5 minutes of The Room. And they brought back Tom in his glory. They aired out of sheer randomness. They just put it on the air just as part of the prank. Gundam Wing, Big O, Yu Yu Hakusho, Outlaw Star, Astro Boy, and of course Dragon Ball Z. All not seen from Cartoon Network in years at that point. They would have taken Dragon Ball Z over to Dragon Ball Z Kai and Nickelodeon. It would have been on other things, but this was the first time it was back in a really long time. Super exciting. Cartoon Network had heard the fan response to bringing the block back, and they did it almost 2 months after the April Fool's joke. And we've had our own anime showcase back ever since, and it's been glorious. Personally, I have never been a diehard anime fan. I like what I like. I typically stick to more superhero things. That's just what I go with. But I just love the Shonen Jump material mostly just because that was what I had grown up with. That's just where my nostalgia hits. Don't get me wrong. I get incredibly excited when we get new episodes of My Hero Academia every Saturday night. There's a sense of epicness again to be able to come back to Toonami and have some anime that I can relate to. I mean, my God, I remember when Dragon Ball Super was premiering back in 2017, and it felt so epic to get new Dragon Ball on Toonami coming home. It felt epic in so many ways. But that's the anime storytelling that I like to cling to. I cling to the memories of when I was first introduced to anime via this block. Those memories bring back a lot of happiness for me. The fact that the cast and crew of Toonami, they put so much energy into making watching anime and action cartoons enjoyable for kids. And I have to give them a round of applause and 2 snaps up and around the world for just making something so absolutely incredible for us to grow up on. And I'm really glad that Toonami is here to stay for the foreseeable future. That's a labor of love that will forever stay with me.